Everybody good? All right, well, thank you guys for joining us this morning. Just excited to have Director Stallings with Georgia Emergency Management Agency and his team with us today. We want to thank the local emergency management partners that we have all across the state. We have Commissioner McMurray and the DOT folks, obviously Colonel Wright, State Patrol, Department of Public Safety, our hardworking troopers that are out there, and their support staff, Deputy Commissioner Raven with the DNR team who's standing by as well, and those two who are throughout the state preparing their communities for this historic cold weather that we're about to experience. In the early morning hours on Friday, temperatures, as we know, are going to plummet statewide. Thankfully, we're hoping that we won't see much participation with that, though North Georgia will get some rain and potential snowfall as possible in the Blue Ridge Mountain counties. But anytime that we're talking about temperatures this low, we need to be on the lookout for black ice always. Commissioner McMurray will speak to the brining and road treatments that will help us mitigate that, but we also need to warn everyone that wind chills will be near zero or in the negative digits by midday on Friday. Temperatures, as we know, likely won't reach 40 degrees across Georgia until Monday afternoon. Communities across the state are about to see temperatures that they haven't experienced in a decade or more. And we just want to urge all Georgians to be ready, and certainly that goes for our teams, and we are working on that as we speak. Director Stallings is going to share what the local folks are doing to prepare, have available resources and steps that Georgians can take to get ready. GEMA is continuing to be in constant contact with the local emergency management agencies. Local warming stations will be activated. Obviously, Commissioner McMurray will talk about the treating of roads. GEMA has also been working with the Department of Public Health to ensure nursing homes know who to call if they potentially lose power. And we're in communication with utility providers so that they have what they need in case of power loss. We have, as always, our Department of Natural Resource chainsaw crews on the ready if needed in a windy storm event, trees down, power lines affected, roads affected, and other things. And with that, I'll be declaring the state of emergency. This will help us ensure that essential supplies, especially propane, can be delivered for both commercial and residential needs. And now I'm going to call on Director Stallings to come up and give us a GEMA update, and he'll be followed by Commissioner McMurray at Georgia Department of Transportation, and the rest of our partners and myself will take questions when we get done. Chris?
Yes, sir. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Governor, for your support and allowing us to get resources ready. The state is ready. We're just challenging you now to make sure you're ready. It's extremely important that in any weather event, you think about the needs for that specific event. For this type of weather event, we're more concerned about the wind and the cold. For our side. On the wind, the power loss is going to be a concern. So when you're making ready, a ready kit that can sustain you for 3 days is going to be important. With these type of temperatures and the wind, as always, anytime we have a wind event, it's difficult for power crews to get up in bucket trucks in sustained wind to recover power. So while creating and updating your kit, keep in mind some specific needs for those that are in your household. Battery-operated devices, flashlights, things of that nature. Make sure you've got those ready. First aid kits, extra medicine should you have to leave your home, have those on the ready. And certainly special items for infants and pets as well. Plan to check on elderly and disabled relatives and neighbors. It's going to be extremely important to make sure we keep our critical friends and neighbors in mind. These cold temperatures are extremely difficult on our elderly and disabled population. Stay hydrated. A lot of times you don't think about the wind events and the cold. It will pull the moisture out of you much faster than a hot event. So make sure you're staying hydrated, and your children, anyone who go outside, they need to be hydrated and well covered. Plan on bringing your pets inside during this event. Our pets aren't ready for this type of event. Also, make sure your home is being insulated. that you're weather stripping around your doors and window sills, you need to just check on those going into it. Have some towels available to cover those cracks under the door and things like that to help keep those out. Your outdoor pipes. A lot of our homes haven't seen these temperatures in a very long time, so it'd be a good time to make sure you put something with styrofoam over it. It's not a good idea to wrap it just in something to insulate it. Unfortunately, if you wrap it in some type of cloth or something that can absorb water, it's going to get wet, and then that is itself is going to freeze, so it's going to make the situation even more damaging. Open up cabinet doors inside the house. Let that, for those houses that your kitchen is on an exterior wall or a lot of your plumbing is on an exterior wall, open up those cabinet doors and let that heat circulate under there. That will help get some heat through the wall into those pipes. And allow your faucets to drip a little bit through the cold weather. It's important that while you're heating your home, keep space heater safety in mind. Don't just plug in one and get close to it. Keep some distance between you and those space heaters. Make sure they have tip sensors. If they fall over, a pet knocks it over, that you're aware that we don't have a house fire. Keep it away from your drapes and furnitures. Never use a generator, camp stove, charcoal, or gas grill to heat your home. Unfortunately, that's going to happen, and we do not need that happening on our watch. We need you to be weather-wise. And keep all your generators at least 20 feet away from any of your doors, windows, or any outlets that will pull in fresh air. In case of power loss, this is where our concern is that in the event of power loss, make sure you've got some alternate heating sources available to you. Now, a lot of times we think about creating heat, but make sure you've thought ahead. Have your blankets out, your cold weather gear. If you've got some old winter jackets or some coats, go ahead and get those out now before the weather turns and you're trying to find them in the dark. Make sure you've got your batteries and your flashlights ready. Plan ahead. Have at least one of the following heat sources that we just discussed readily available. If you have medical equipment that operates on a battery backup, make sure you have that charged and options about that. Notify someone if these issues arise regarding your heat. Now, our local EMAs are going to be working to have heat sources available, but our partners with DNR also have warming shelters available. You can find out where those are at gastateparks.org/alerts. So if you go to there, they'll have a list of all their state warming stations that they have available. And then if you have any further questions about that, your local EMs are also working on this problem. And finally, health concerns. Watch out for frostbite. If you do have to go outside, frostbite is going to possibly happen. Some of the warning signs are white or grayish yellowing of the skin, numbness of the skin that feels unusually firm or waxy. If this happens, frostbite areas are typically numb. Do not put them near a heat source to try to warm them. You will not feel the damage you're doing to the body because it's warm. So if you do experience some numbness, wrap yourself in some type of blanket, try to sip on something warm and start warming the core temperatures. And finally, hypothermia. It will happen if the body drops below 95 degrees, and in these temps, if you're out for long periods of time, it can happen. Make sure you use those same precautions when you come in. Warm, non-alcoholic beverages are the best options. So make sure you're keeping wise. And finally, my final point that I want to make clear is if your power is out, most likely your neighbors are too. And in this type of event, it's important that we know we have one another's back. Check on your neighbors, check on your family, and we'll get through all this together. Commissioner McMurray?
Thank you, Director Stallings. First, I want to just tell everybody again, we are preparing for this extreme cold weather event. As the governor mentioned, there will be precipitation Thursday evening into early Friday morning. And as the National Weather Service has predicted, there is a potential for flash freezing for the moisture that remains on any of the roadways and bridges across Georgia. Therefore, out of the abundance of caution, the Department of Transportation is moving forward today with pre-treating roads and bridges on state routes and interstates, such to try to get an onset to keep that precipitation from freezing as this Arctic blast moves through. The Department of Transportation will treat basically from a line north of Columbus to Augusta and everything north of there, as well as I-75 from Macon to the Tennessee border and everything in between. That is some 21,000 miles of roadways that will need to be treated. This afternoon, we will start treating the roads, not the interstates, but the roads in northwest Georgia and northeast Georgia, as well as this evening, the roads in the South Metro area. That would be the state routes, but not the interstates. Tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., we will begin to treat the interstates from that boundary of Columbus all the way over to Augusta and Macon north. This will be working for 12-hour shifts until we have everything treated, and trying to have everything treated before the onset of the freezing temperatures in the wee hours of Friday morning. And we are confident that we can have that first application of brine across all the state routes and interstates. And so that's what we'll be doing starting this afternoon and this evening, and then the interstates tomorrow. I would like to highlight that tomorrow we ask for your patience while you're out and about. In fact, if you don't have to travel tomorrow, we suggest you stay home, because we will have to brine these roadways during the day. With over 21,000 miles of road, it just takes that long to brine that much area. So we're asking for your cooperation. If you don't have to be out tomorrow, stay home and stay warm. And certainly on Friday morning, we ask that you not get out. If you see a roadway that looks wet on Friday morning or Friday, assume that it is frozen. We will continue to spot treat any areas that have ice on them or they're black ice Friday into Saturday until we get the all clear. Now, this is an all hands effort with this big geographic area that we're dealing with, and we'll continue to work so that the roads are passable and acceptable. I remind you all too that your local roads, and especially subdivision or neighborhood streets, are likely not to be treated. So again, as we enter the holiday weekend, please just stay home if you can, and let's see how this really cold Arctic snap may have an effect on the roadways of Georgia. And Governor, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Commissioner and Director, for those comments. We'll open it up for any questions you
Governor,
got.
when does the state of emergency actually begin?
Well, we're working on getting it drafted right now, so it'll be here pretty shortly, and it'll go through midnight on Monday. I think that's our thinking. Probably go ahead and start it today.
And Governor, is it statewide?
Yeah, statewide.
Just to be clear, all state routes north of the fall line and all interstates north of the fall line are going to be treated?
That's correct. We will be treating basically the fall line north of state routes and interstates. And one other thing I might add is the express lanes on I-75 and 85 will be closed Thursday around midnight, and so we'll wait and assess those conditions into the weekend so we can safely open those back up at a later point.
Governor, can you talk about talking with Georgia Power, the EMCs, how prepared they are? Are they bringing in crews from out of state?
Well, I'll let Director Stallings speak to that. My biggest concern, just a couple of things besides what the team's been dealing with. We've been talking to the propane folks out there. A lot of the chicken houses across state are warmed by propane. Obviously, a lot of residential homes are. So they just want to make sure that they can serve our people and our industry that's out there, and our farmers and business folks. And so that's one of the main reasons for the state of emergency, but also we just want to be prepared. We want people to think about, if they're leaving town this afternoon and it's still above freezing, to remind them that it's going to be very cold. So, the things that Director Stallings was saying, opening cabinet doors, prepare for your travel if you were to get stranded, in an out-of-way place in 10-degree weather, to have supplies to get you through those kind of things, to not completely cut your heat off when you leave to prevent frozen pipes, and just be aware of the potential for the forecast and heavy winds and extremely cold temperatures. It may be very hard to get the crews to fix a down power outage until it's safe to do so. So we just want people to be thinking about that and be prepared, because we know, obviously, with Christmas right around the corner and the rest of the holidays that are going on, weather is not of the forefront of people's minds. Even though I think when the winds pick up like they did this morning, the temperatures drop, it will be so very quickly. So that's the biggest things for me, and also just what Commissioner McMurray said, just for people to be patient, so our drivers, Brian trucks, and other public safety vehicles we got on the roads helping with this, just give them plenty of space, be courteous, let them do their work, and just let's not have any accidents or loss of life because people get impatient on our roadways. But Chris, do you want to speak to the utility partners?
So we have definitely been in contact with our utility partners. Some of the concerns of, like you mentioned, everybody's dealing with this cold snap, so we can't bring in a lot of folks from outside, so it's kind of an all-hands approach. Everybody's available. Our main concerns as far as utilities go, we want to make sure our nursing homes, our senior living, assisted living places, hospitals, that they are certainly available. But we will mention that not only with the winds, but these temperatures, I don't know if you've ever had to work hydraulic equipment. It doesn't like cold temps. And so it slows down response with these hydraulic lifts and things of that nature, whether it's just cold weather or not, wind or not, the cold weather itself will slow that down. And to the governor's point, if you are going to travel, make sure someone can get into your home in the event of an emergency for you. Trust a neighbor with a key or an access code to a garage, because if a water main breaks and you're a couple hours away visiting family, someone needs to be able to get to that water meter or that water main inside your house to shut that down for you. So make sure you do have those relationships built in before you travel.
All right, everybody good? All right, thank you guys. Be safe.